Okay, everyone, I would like to welcome you this afternoon to our webinar. And as usual, we will wait a couple of moments for all of you to join us. And as I see the numbers going up, we will commence. I can see people are coming in very, very quickly now, which is a good sign. And for all the fashion designers and other designers, because there are others are invited as well today, I'm delighted that you can join us. And today we have with us Farinella. And Aisling is a creative consultant. She's centering on the fashion and cultural spheres. And I've asked her today to look at trends and what she believes will come out of this COVID situation, primarily for fashion, but also for other disciplines. So with that, I'd like to welcome Aisling. I'm going to disappear. And if you have any questions, put them in the Q&A and we will talk later on. Thank you so much, everyone. And Aisling, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thanks, Emer. So hi, everybody. I hope you can all hear me okay. And yes, thanks again, Emer, for inviting me to present. This is kind of quite surreal. I feel like I'm presenting to my computer screen, which I am. But yeah, thank you all for joining. And as Emer said there, I am a Dublin-based stylist and creative consultant. I've been working here for over 15 years, and another huge part of what I do is advocate for Irish fashion and create a number of diverse platforms to help showcase and support the amazing creative industry that we have here. So I guess looking at what's happening next and how industry mood is changing and evolving is an integral part of what I do all the time. And so my discussion today is based on my experience of working with Irish clients in the current climate, and also my exposure to what's been happening internationally. And it's been such an insanely huge time of massive shifts in the industry. But trends are created by an amalgam of influences. And for this presentation, I brought together the prevailing industry discussions so that hopefully you will all be able to consider your own business within their context. And I guess this is definitely focusing on fashion, but I think there are also strong parallels for other design disciplines. And I think even outside of fashion and design, we can look at other industries and learn from them too, as we're all navigating very new territory. So my discussion today is looking at forecasting trends coming through COVID-19, and I'm looking at the trends in fashion business and design and consumerism, and really looking at the trends in the context of the current climate. So we will look at why this is the time to be bold with your business. It's definitely a time of change, and bold moves have been happening all over the place. We're going to look at the importance of brand communication in a changing world, and also the pivotal role of transparency within the wider discussion of sustainability. Going to look at consumer engagement in new virtual spaces and old ones, but how you should be engaging with consumers now. And then also we're going to look at fabrics, colour and design tone, and creating new visions of contemporary craft as a trend that we can all connect to going forward. So as Emer said, you'll be able to access the presentation afterwards, and I would be very happy as well to answer any questions that come up, or just to discuss any of the points a little bit further. So I'm just gonna, quickly stick on my timer so that I don't go way under or way over, okay, so the resounding industry message is that this is the time to rethink and revise fashion. From the outset of the lockdown, the definitive response from the fashion industry has been to engage and support, repurposing business when possible to produce PPE and donate towards frontline causes. We've seen major brands and independent designers alike donating their resources. Creative agencies are addressing cancelled fashion weeks with online solutions and new digital platforms, and major publishing houses have opened up their archives free of charge. So everybody is looking to support in whatever way they can, and there has never been a more open and honest time of communication. So we can say that this unprecedented time for a voracious fashion industry to be on pause has created a really unique opportunity, which was previously unimaginable for industry discussion. And this has resulted in a series of manifestos published by some of the fashion industry's biggest players. Their messages all lay the foundations for fashion to rebuild itself, in tune with the seasons, producing less often, breaking from continuous discounting, and abandoning the dated fashion show model. So everything with the view to creating a more sustainable industry and a better future backed by creativity and design. So I guess fashion is now telling us, coming from so many angles, that we need to slow down and we need to stop and think. And this is absolutely unprecedented in terms of industry messaging. So it kind of began in March when Saint Laurent, mega brand of Kering, exited the Paris Fashion Week calendar. The next big move was creative director of Gucci, Alessandro Michele, and he came out of what was, I guess, a very emotionally intense lockdown in Italy. And in his own words, he wanted to abandon the worn out ritual of seasonalities. And he even wanted to adapt a new language to speak about fashion shows. So instead of showing, he will now meet with his devoted audience and speak about these meetings in terms of classical music. So he's going to be creating symphonies, overtures, nocturnes, concerts, and rhapsodies. So really, people are starting to completely rethink how they are engaging with fashion, and in some more conventional and in some more eccentric ways. There was then a designer, Dries van Noten, came out spearheading a group of high-profile brands and retailers, and they published a proposal to also reset the fashion calendar with respect for the customer at its heart. And customer is front and center now. So delivering product at the right time for the season that we are living in. So no more swimsuits in January and coats in spring, and calling for less production and travel within the industry. Fashion's carbon footprint has been unbelievably questionable for some time, with really expensive fashion shows in far-flung places and huge production activity happening all over the world. So a lot of travel there. But we see then the business of fashion also brought together a manifesto with a number of major brands and designers, and they published a letter in the Financial Times, which you can see here, and they created a very catchy campaign with the hashtag rewiring fashion. But you know, all of the same directives were at the heart: to slow down, to change the fashion calendar, to break from continuous discounting, and to start to produce less. We can also see that the British Fashion Council and the Council of Fashion Designers of America both came together as well, and they also issued a joint message, a united message, saying that the system needed to change and that the priority now needed to be to slow down and reduce consumption. So these are major manifestos which have absolutely dominated the fashion industry and you know, all of our media. There's been huge talk about what's happening in fashion as a result of the pandemic. So it's kind of very important to be aware of this context. And while like these events may feel like they are part of a much different or of an industry which is operating at a very different scale, and it might feel a bit disconnected to being here in Ireland or your business here, but it's really not. It's absolutely equally important for independent brands or Irish brands to take this time to review their market model, to potentially create new pathways for production and selling which are going to serve them better, to connect with their own geographical seasonal timeline, so it's just like rain or sunshine in Ireland, and to really consider the changing consumer demand. And also this is a time to now attribute value, to give priority to our own personal situations in our businesses and thinking about family, community, health and security. So this is really major shift in fashion, and I think the trend that is definitively emerging is that this is the time to be bold with your business model.
Ashley, 1 second.
Oh yeah.
Are you going with one slide and sending the whole thing on, or do we have other?
Oh, sorry. Can you not see it?
We seem to be on the first slide at the moment.
Oh yeah. Oh no, sorry.
But I don't want to put you off train. If you want to keep going, get us to where we should be now, and then we'll send it on to everybody afterwards, okay?
Okay, you should be able to see it. Hang on a sec. I can just try again.
Now, the last thing I want to do is disturb your flow. So
okay.
if you get to where you should be, then we can send it on to everybody, okay? Okay, everyone, I think we'll just allow a second here. I think Aisling has frozen on me. So you just bear with us, please. Okay, everyone, we have Aisling coming back now. Aisling, are you back with us?
Back here, yeah.
Okay. Apologies to everybody. Don't worry about it, Aisling. Just take from where you left off, okay? And we will be sending the presentation out to everyone, okay? Thank you very much, everyone.
Okay, so you can see now anyway, Emer?
Yes.
Yeah, perfect, okay. Let me just see here. There we go. Okay, so promoting the process of the product. Yeah, so this time of revision allows us to re-engage with the hearts of our business, our North Star, if you like, and work towards authentic content and communication. In this rapidly changing time of real health and economic distress, our messaging should shift priority, and the focus now should be more on the process than on the product. It is definitely a better approach to be taking with your brand at the moment, and brands which are communicating a positive message during the COVID crisis are going to stand out for consumers. We've already seen a steep decline in the influencer model and a rise in authentic communication. So model and celebrity fashion covers have been replaced by the heroes of the crisis. Like we've seen the Yochisono campaign on Vanity Fair and the new front line recently for Vogue, and it's kind of telling us that audiences are craving connection above escapism. In this new world order, they really want to relate rather than aspire to. So this is important messaging. But having experienced a moment of pause, space is being created for many people to consider again what you are creating and why. So this is the time to ask yourself, what does success look like for you and for your business? And what are your core values and how you can communicate them best? I've no doubt that everybody listening here today has got a really unique story, and now you need to make sure that you're communicating it fully in an authentic manner. So a good exercise can be to return to and redefine your core values, and also to look carefully at and refine your aesthetic. And by owning a strong visual identity, you're going to stand out so much better in a competitive marketplace. And so what can you shout about? I know definitely we can all say here that, you know, you're an Irish business, you're local, you're family business, you might be creating job opportunities in your community, you might be invigorating Irish craft or materials, or creating timeless, desirable investment pieces, but you are creating value with what you do, and that is the message that you need to communicate. So simply, you can go through your social content and make sure that each post, just looking back, make sure that everything is connecting with your core messaging. Or rather, more importantly, that you don't have things that are undermining this redefined core message. So it's kind of like, I guess, cleaning house a bit Marie Kondo style. But refining what you have to say creates a more coherent presence, and this is going to strengthen your connection to your audience. So if you look at your image and your language tone, it might be about making your messaging more or perhaps even less personal. So while we say this, thoughtful content creation is really king for communicating authentically. So just tell your brand story, tell the process of your production, talk about your collaborations, your inspiration, your immediate environment, your team, and the best way of welcoming people into your world, and then attributing value to the process of your design and also to your product. So yeah, authentic brand communication is definitely a key trend to be engaging with at the moment. But environmental impact, I guess sustainability was key discourse dominating fashion before the pandemic. And there are a multitude of urgent issues around climate change, including waste, farming, workers' rights, carbon emissions, water usage. There is a lot to talk about and a lot to be addressed. And the industry so far is responding by celebrating sustainable fabrics or repurposing materials, upcycling and embracing a circular fashion system. But these ideas still, however, are all founded on continuous consumption. So there is an imbalance here which is going to change. But we can definitely say that all of these ideas and these issues and trends which have been gaining momentum before the pandemic have now been accelerated by the current situation. So we can say that at a very simple level, they're gaining traction because during lockdown, we've all learned to appreciate and connect with our gardens, our parks, and our green spaces. For the most part, we've been, like today, we've been blessed with incredible weather and have enjoyed bird singing, less traffic, and cleaner air. From all the damage suffered, there is an impetus now to make our societies better, Consumers are likely to show an increased interest in environmental issues. So if you can connect positively here, you are going to benefit. So people are asking for locally made products and they want to support their local community. We've had a revolution in food in Ireland, and while we don't have the same production capacities for fashion, we can definitely take many lessons around education and knowledge. I was reading recently a piece about the future of food, and a very simple quote from Margot Henderson of the Rochelle Canteen in London resonated with me, and she said, "In the future we can do better by caring more for the world around us, source local food and order wisely. We need a bit more of the lockdown spirit, slow down, waste less, and care for our communities." And this is so completely and wholly applicable to fashion. And in this context as well, I wanted to highlight and share the practice of Irish designer Richard Malone. So Richard is Wexford born, and he's an acclaimed international designer who's been breaking conventional fashion industry practice in building a more sustainable business. Earlier this year, just before the pandemic broke, he won the very prestigious International Woolmark Prize. Previous winners for this are Valentino, Karl Lagerfeld, Yves Saint Laurent. So he is in very good company there, and he deserves it. He has a deep understanding of sustainability, and it's been at the core of his business since the very beginning. He was famed for using fabric remnants or cut-offs that he got during an internship at LVMH, and he used these discarded pieces from a major luxury company to create a graduate collection in Central St. Martin's. In the context of transparency, his autumn-winter show notes were accompanied by a mission statement in which he outlined all of the details of his production, including the hourly rates that he was paying to local tailors and cutters. So, and it was definitely in part this open and honest practice of full transparency which set him apart to win the Woolmark Prize and identifies his business model as exemplary for the future. So he's a radical thinker, and there is so much to be learned there. And definitely, I think around the area of transparency is going to be taking such a, is going to be gaining so much momentum in the discourse around sustainability. But so what can we do here? I think what you can do is you can look at your supply chain, and can you share any of the process? How can you be more open about how you make what you make? This is also content which is very useful for creating authentic communication. But while you're doing this, can you review any areas that could perform more responsibly, like very simply your packaging? Can you share how your product is being made, by whom, and with what materials? I guess I kind of probably should have mentioned, but these beautiful images that I have put up are from a beautiful knitwear brand called Baba in Spain. And Martha, the designer, lived in Ireland for a number of years, but then she returned to Spain and created this amazing brand. But more recently, she has added a new area to her website where she very much brings her customer into her production world, and she introduces them to the materials that she's using, the dye process, the communities that she works with, factories that she works with, and she's done it in such an open and honest way, and it really does create this authentic communication, and it really does connect you with the transparency of her business and gives a lot of value to the product that she's creating. So yeah, so we can say that by showcasing this labor of love behind your work, you can highlight the design process and create value at every step of the way, and you can bring your consumer on a journey to be better informed about what they're buying. So in this age of transparency, companies will need to be showing that they're making the right choices for their brand, and this is going to be different depending on your size, your scale, and what is going to be possible for you. But very much showing that it's at the heart of your practice is important. So what can you do? There are, like, again, that's going to be a very individual and unique basis. There are organizations like 1% for the Planet, which you can sign up to, but you can do something that's a lot more bespoke and unique, like the Irish company Grown Clothing, who are an organic clothing company, and what they do is they plant trees in Ireland to offset their own environmental impact, and they have built a whole community around it, and it's a really kind of beautiful thing to buy a garment and then have a tree planted to offset that. But yeah, so I guess while change is not going to be possible overnight, it's really important to show that you are engaging now in an age of transparency. So then I guess the next point is consumption and how this is changing. So there has been a respite from hyper-consumerism with everything closed, and consumers are therefore positioned to break old habits and engage with new practice around purchasing. The more cautious consumer is driving the trend of buying less to last longer. This has been a core message of sustainable fashion forever, but it's now necessitated by the reality of unknowns around the virus and the directives to stay close to home, keep our distance, and stay safe. A combination of factors, including fear of virus transmission, in maybe retail spaces, the restrictions on numbers creating very long queues, unwillingness or lack of opportunity to try clothes on. And these are all creating a set of challenges which are really changing the traditional shopping experience. Even though we saw last week with the reopening of pennies, like the massive queues going around the corner, but is this a bubble? Is it revenge buying? Is there going to be a second outbreak? It's undeniable that coming out of this time, consumer habits are evolving, and retail is about to undergo a historical transition. So we will say that we can see also that restrictions on social events are a key factor to slowing down fashion purchasing. People are getting all dressed up, there's nowhere to go. So while at the same time we're seeing a downturn in fashion, we're seeing an increase in homewares and domestic products. And consumers are going to be continuously now taking paid for experiences into their own homes. So dining out is really going to be looking so different in the future. So as a result of the coronavirus, how consumer demographics engage with retail are expected to change, but they're not going to disappear. And this is an important consideration for your brand. So are you selling to an older customer who is now potentially staying at home? Do you have enough information on your customers? Are you using your database if you do have one properly? And can you reach out to people in a more personalized and direct manner, which is definitely a kind of newer engagement, which we're seeing as a result of the current situation. Or is your customer younger? And do you have a presence on the most appropriate social channels? Are you using these to the best of your ability? Do you need more knowledge? Do you need to upskill a bit about Instagram stories and live events, shoppable content? How are you unique in your market area and in a very crowded social media environment? Can you offer some kind of bespoke service? You just really need to consider your very own space in this new time of virtual engagement. And so we can say again that the COVID-19 crisis is accelerating shifts that were already happening. It's, it just happened that Facebook and Instagram were both ready to launch new shoppable platforms, and were able to do this just a couple of weeks into the crisis. And there couldn't have been a better moment for them. So things were moving in this direction already, but they are definitely, everything has been accelerated now. So you have to catch up. But with shifts around consumption, it's therefore crucial that you understand who your target audience is. So for some businesses, this is definitely their first point of their business plan, but for other people, often I find when they're coming from a very creative position, it's not always given enough consideration, but it's definitely something that needs to be taken into account now and going forward. So what are takeaways here? So
we still seem to be fixed on the lovely coastal image with the lady.
Oh yeah, no, you shouldn't be. I don't know what it is.
I didn't want to disturb your flow.
Oh yeah, thanks, sorry.
And I don't want to lose you more than anything.
Yeah, okay. I am trying it again.
Yeah. And anyway, everyone will receive it afterwards, so.
Yeah, sorry about that. Maybe, yeah. But it says it's sharing. Can you see it now?
I can see it now, yeah.
Okay, let me just get on.
How many slides do you have?
20.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe. Let me just see where we are.
Just keep going through them slowly so that everyone can enjoy them. That'd be great.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to get lost now. Thanks.
Okay, no problem. I'm just catching up with myself now. So where are we here? Consumption. Yeah, so you can see actually going to go back one. Hopefully that doesn't mess things up. But so yeah, so we're just talking about engagement with virtual spaces, which is so important at the moment. And yeah, so you need to review and consider if you are still reaching your customer with your established platforms, or if it's time for you to try and engage with them in new ways. And this is going to differ depending on the size of your business, but it could be something like a new website, new social media platforms. Do you need more direct newsletters, or is it time to consider advertising and where that might be for you? But the data is there of how online shopping has grown massively during the lockdown, and it's expected to continue now with the emergence of a newly upgraded IT audience. We've all had to engage with online shopping out of necessity, and now it's just become easier and more familiar to people who previously didn't use it. So, and also as our social interactions were moved online, our attitudes towards technology have shifted, if you weren't already all over your Instagram 24/7. But so with so many industry, consumer and technological changes, there has never been a better time for the direct consumer business model. Direct consumer brands can be more in control of their own production and delivery timelines. They can connect directly with the consumer audience with potentially global reach and simultaneously be supporting local industry. They also have the golden ticket that they stand to gain a higher return on their product by cutting out the wholesale model. But again, for every business, it's going to be a different story, and you need to kind of be aware of the potential out there, but also taking it into consideration for your own brand. So kind of moving on then into fabrics and design tone. So I guess we're kind of finally looking at forecasting design trends. And ironically, I guess the industry forecast is that trends, as we currently know and package them, will not be relevant in the future. There has been a shift towards, a continuous shift towards mixing of fashion. We're mixing high and low, we're mixing old and new, we're mixing tailored with athletic. We've just been mixing, and trends are starting to disintegrate. And it's, I guess, just the media who is kind of pulling them out. And we can see this also as feeding a culture of throwaway fashion with a very negative impact on the planet. And so with that in mind, we can kind of see a future beyond where the trends as we know them are going to start to disintegrate. So I think, yeah, it's definitely very important to know and to be aware of the trends that are coming down the line, but it's also equally just as important to stick to your own core values, your own design values, and not to sway too far from them. But we know that very much impacted by the coronavirus, fashion sales have been moving away from mega branding, all of the massive logos we've been seeing, and maximalism. Even street style, which has been the epitome of peacocking and making a fashion statement, is now become more toned down and is embracing comfort. Birkenstocks are the new black. There is appetite for classic investment pieces. Wardrobes have been restructured to work from home, and designers will next create collections of pieces which can be worn all year round and therefore stay on the shelves for longer. So the importance of classic timeless pieces is very much going to be coming through in fashion, and it's stemming both from issues which are of facing the supply chain and the break to production that has been experienced, and also as we've been looking at an anticipated change in consumer purchasing. So
it's me again.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, good. We're on to the next slide. Sorry to be a pain. I'll disappear again. Bye-bye.
No, go first. Yeah, that's no problem. So, the lockdown has been creating time and space for people to rethink their consumption and is enabling them to make more informed purchasing decisions. The globally renowned trend forecaster Lee Edelcourt beckons in an age of stillness, faith and instinct to build a better future. A clean cloud palette, neutrals and earthy tones. In a recent Business of Fashion podcast, she predicts a renewed appreciation for handicraft, and these are her words. She says, "I think that true artisans definitely have a future. I strongly believe there is an enormous future for the beautifully made handicraft products with a real identity. We will need the love with which this which is in this merchandise, because we cannot cope with the senselessness of fashion." This is good news for Irish design, I think. And yes, she is a very important trend forecaster globally, and she published an anti-fashion manifesto in 2015, and since then she's been heralding an era of shifting priorities and changes in the consumption of fashion, which we are definitively seeing now. So we can also say that there is going to be a desire for more tactile fabrics, and this is envisioned to replace the loss of human touch which we've experienced during this extended period of social distancing, and just not being able to hug somebody, or it's like, don't touch anything. So yeah, definitely we're going to see a new connection to the fabrics, tactile fabrics that we wear and that we hold on our bodies. So I imagine that Irish heritage fabrics like tweed, linen, wool and lace are really positioned to resonate in a new way with consumers. We're going to want to cocoon ourselves in our clothes, and we want to feel protected by them. We will also want to connect with their stories and their values. So you see how there's such an overlapping of themes happening in with the trends. Sorry. So fashion and design have historically reflected health issues from so many ways in every single era. But we can say from the raising of hemlines, I think it's the 18th century, to modernist obsessions with cleanliness reflected in white walls and minimalist designs. And I actually didn't know that, but the modernists, there was during the period of modernism, tuberculosis was a huge health issue, and modernist designs really reflected how it was important to keep things clean, this image, I don't know if you can see it actually, but if you can't see it, it's a sanatorium designed by Alvaro Aalto, and it brings together the idea of indoor and outdoor space, white walls, all of these kind of key modernist features which have actually come out of health issues. So we can say, however, that we do feel that design is not going to be nostalgic at the moment, because it really needs to look and move forward. So we can expect a hybrid expression of quiet and contemporary craft with more of a futuristic style. So I guess I've kind of brought a couple of designers here to show you, and you can see how Simone Rocha works in a very new way with knitwear craft, reinventing the Aran knitting techniques, and bringing Irish lace into her collections. Or we can see Craig Green, who has always worked with this kind of with some very organic materials and use them in a very kind of futuristic way, or a very sculptural and futuristic way. But let's see, so we know that health and hygiene are going to play a really key role also in product design. We're going to need to reimagine so much of our life, from everyday touch points like opening doors with our feet as opposed to our hands, and the necessity for materials and surfaces to be washable. We can imagine that copper and linen are going to be widely employed because these materials have antibacterial properties. And also how our homes have changed, and they've become a new space, a hybrid for work, exercise, leisure, school, social life, restaurants, whatever, it's all in the one space. So we're going to see this impact design, and also the incorporation of green spaces into all environments is going to be really important. I mean, we're really lucky. We have a great garden in our home in the city, and we've got so many green spaces that we can access, but this hasn't been the case for so many people around the world who have just been confined into very small living conditions which just don't have any balcony or green area. And there are serious repercussions on so many parts of our health, including mental health, that are all going to be taken into account now going forward. So we can see, also we can see that in fashion, with so many heritage houses and independent designers turning their hand to the production of PPE, we're bound to see functionality and hygiene play a really central role in coming fashion collections. So, in terms of further trends that we can see for fashion and design, we are reconnecting with heritage fabrics, some very tactile fabrics. Color palette is going to be toned down. We're moving away from this kind of maximalist or very kind of statement fashion. Everything is going to be a lot more muted and feel a lot closer to the earth, and a lot more grounded. We expect consumers to be looking for classic investment pieces. So this is what's going to be offered by designers. So you can think of great coats, great knitwear, the very easy tailoring, easy pieces that kind of will work in the context of a home environment, and that kind of and what a home environment means right now. So we're moving away from seasonality, and we can say that hygiene and functionality are going to be really key, that also that there is definitively going to be a trend towards looking forward as opposed to looking back, because I think everybody is keen to kind of to progress now. And I guess, so that's it really from me, and I've given you a roundup there of the current fashion climate and the trends that we can see emerging from these discussions. And really hope that you've been able to hear me first of all, and maybe you can look at the presentation afterwards, but I hope that there have been some interesting points and ideas there for you. And an idea which I feel connects all the threads of this presentation and gives us good direction as well on how best to move forward now is outlined. I came across a statement recently by Samira Nazar, the newly appointed editor of Harper's Bazaar, and she defines this as a new age where progress rather than privilege is now aspirational. And I think that if that is kind of a vision for the future, and it's something that's definitely going to be reflected in our design world, and it's just really nice kind of thought to take away with you. But yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Aisling, thank you so much for that. We lost you, but it was very temporary. So that was
okay.
We'll leave it with that. Also, with the presentation, everyone's going to get the presentation afterwards, so we won't get too worried about that.
Okay.
Whilst we have you here, I was just thinking that we're getting an awful lot of thank yous in.
Okay.
And I thought it was very uplifting, and we have commented to back that up, of artism and the fact that the well-designed, handcrafted is going to come to the fore coming out of COVID-19, which is really optimistic for craft and design makers.
Yeah, definitely.
I have a question here about jewellery.
Yeah.
And do you think that there's going to be a move towards precious metals, away from the more costume that we have had?
I think that, actually, and I haven't read a lot about the jewellery market at the moment, but I have seen conversations around, obviously jewellery is such an intimate design element. It's carried so close to the body, and obviously there's going to be repercussions there, as there are in fashion, around trying things on, and how jewellery makers are going to be affected in that way. But I think that, sorry, can you just repeat the question again there, Emer?
Okay, is there going to be a move, right?
A move towards, more.
Do you think that there'll be a transfer, you just said it in fashion, that it would be more, once off?
I definitely, because I think because of this kind of the change in consumer engagement with product, and how there's going to be less trying on, and there's going to be less purchasing happening, that people are going to want to buy things which they can keep for a much longer time. They're going to be more kind of timeless pieces, which we can definitely say about more precious metals than costume jewelry. So I think that, yeah, I would imagine that there's definitely going to be a healthy shift in that direction. But I do think that, yeah, the jewelry market is definitely going to be impacted by the issues around the issues of hygiene around coronavirus.
People are commending the fact that you've highlighted that things are going to be more sustainable and more important pieces, like signature pieces, and that there'll be a lot more thought put in, and as you say, round hygiene. Would you have any insights or ideas on what someone in fashion textiles should do if they have designed their autumn winter collection?
So if they have designed their autumn winter collection and haven't produced it,
they're stalling on production. What should they do?
Well, I guess it depends on the size of their business and their commitments. So have they designed their collection in order to sell it themselves, or are they selling it? Are they selling it into stores? Are they a wholesale model, or can they be more direct to consumer?
It's a mixture, but it's more direct to the consumer.
Well, I think then if it's direct to consumer, and should they not produce, I guess if they can control are they going to be working with factories, or are they producing it themselves? There are different, I guess there's so many different situations, and it's
exactly
hard to kind of like speak to all of them. But I guess what I would say is that you need to use your resources really wisely at the moment. And you need to be very careful about investing finances into production when we are, we're kind of going to be experiencing a period of this huge backlog of stock, which was produced and then wasn't being able to sell because all the shops were closed, or people couldn't move because of the restrictions for the last few months. So there is a backlog of stock there, which is going to be unfortunately discounted dramatically, and that is going to have a huge impact on sales for autumn winter. So so again, I think each business is going to be really different, and it depends on the type of fashion that you're producing. But I mean, I think that with so many Irish designers, they are engaging with quality fabrics, or heritage textiles. They are perhaps creating more timeless pieces that something that can stay on the shelf longer, that's not going to be confined to seasonality. Like, I mean, how long is winter in Ireland? Have they made some beautiful coats, and will they have an extended period which they can sell them? Or if they produce now, are they going to need to shift all of that stock within a very short period of time? And I would be very careful if that was the case.
Okay, that's a good answer. Very interesting one here, and I think it's a lovely question. Do you think manufacturing will become more prominent in Ireland now?
I would love to. I mean, I think really we are stuck until we are able to manufacture here. But there is investment required in order to set up factories, or to be able to upskill people, or to create the production capacity and facilities that are required to build bigger businesses. And there is investment required there. There's definitely support that's going to be necessary in order to kickstart that industry again in Ireland. But so I would love to think, I would love to think that it's possible, but until we can see where those resources might come from, it's not something that's going to happen overnight. But I think if we're able to re-educate the consumer or educate the consumer about their fashion purchasing decisions, and the importance of buying local, supporting local or Irish business, then we'll be creating more demand for the product, and then the investment will come because it's going to be a more viable business option as well. So yeah, I think I would definitely be optimistic, but I don't think it's something that's going to happen overnight.
But it would be good, wouldn't it, before the cut, make, trim skills die out completely?
Oh, absolutely.
In Ireland.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there should be like so much more support for the industry that we do have as well. Like there's the tweeds and Donegal, and our amazing kind of heritage of knitting and linen, and yeah, there should be a lot more support for what we do have functioning at the moment, and in order to be able to kind of increase the impact as well that can have for Irish fashion.
Exactly. So listen, yeah. I've had an awful lot of thank yous in, and people have remarked that it was a shame about the images, which it's really unfortunate, but we will be sending the presentation on. Yeah. And what I might do down the line, we're going to look at a slightly changing format going forward in July and August. Yeah. And we might do a clinic with you for fashion only, or something like that, if there are areas that people would like to tease out, because yeah. I think there's an awful lot in this. Yeah. There's an awful lot of individual advice that people may need afterwards. So yeah. On that, I'd like to thank you very much for being with us today and giving us a lovely presentation. And thank you everyone for joining us and for your patience with regard to initially our sound, which we sorted, and then slides. So those will be sent to you, and I can send on your contact details. Is that okay, Aisling? If anyone
no problem. Yeah,
follow up.
Yeah, sorry that the presentation didn't work out so well there, but yeah. I mean, thank you all for coming, and yeah, definitely please do if there are any kind of follow-up questions. I'm more than happy to.
And listen, thank you very much. Thank you very much, everyone, and thank you, Aisling. So goodbye on that. Thank you very, very much. Thank you.
Bye. Bye. Still there, Emer?